Okay. Recently, we played Indigo Park, and as you may or may not, I fell in love with the character Rambley. Uh, I also happen to do quite a lot of artwork uh, over on Blue Sky, and if you haven't checked out my Blue Sky, go fucking do it. What are you doing? Go look at my Blue Sky. God. I do currently Pokemon drawings where I turn them into robots and stuff. You can get a better look over there. And I thought, let's do the same to Rambley, and I'll go over the process and hopefully I can help some people improve their artwork. I did this using my iPad on Procreate. I think I used only default brushes and just random references of the character online. Nothing major. So let's go. I started off with just a basic sketch, like not even really trying to get any real details in, just the proportions of his body and things. And right now it looks really, really bad. Like, it looks genuinely bad. This is bad. This is a bad vibe. Now the reason this looks bad is because the head's not the right shape, but the body's not the right sizing. The legs feel like they're going too far to the left. The arms are more of an S shape than anything else, and that's not bad for this stage. This is one of the things you need to be comfortable with if you're going to do art long term. You need to be okay with your art looking bad for at least the first few hours. Like, it's not going to look good. It's not going to look good until you've put in the effort. So all I did here was block out like the tail, where I want like arms to be, the basic pose, nothing official, his ears, eyes, muzzle, and his corner like cheek floofs. And that's all that needed to be done. And then you lower the opacity on the first layer. Oh, this is how I do it anyway. And then you just go over stuff, mess with the proportions and stuff on a second layer, and just refine and keep refining. And that's probably the best way you're gonna get about doing anything. See, I'm not even following the sketch I did underneath. I'm just using it as guideposts. Like that ear doesn't line up there. None of this detailing was here. That was just me copying a face, or like choosing a face, or making up a face. I think I made it up at a certain point, but his face is fairly the same in everything. Arm right there, I changed the positions of the arms. Nothing major. Again, just blocking out. This hand's a mess. I just erased little bits to make it cleaner. I thought I'd have him holding a package here, but I think I'd lost that idea later on. A rough background, more to just get like a perspective. I don't even end up using that either. It's just a bunch of stuff that you don't end up using. Now I use the monoline brush here to get a nice clean edge on everything. I think I switched over to the studio pen brush, like not even being careful, like it overdoes the lines over and over again. Then I went back on another layer again with sketching. So with my robot designs, this is how it usually goes. I'll figure out what I want the pose of the character to be. I'll figure out what I want the overall look to be, the vibe and everything like that. And then I'll start mocking in the type of machinery I want like in the character itself and what lends itself to the character. So with Rambley here, he has these fur cuffs around the edges of his paws, and that really helps with like different mechanical things coming out, like different compared to the arms. Joints usually would have a circle, I would say. That's how I usually do it. But following like just the curve of the body here from thigh to stomach is one of the things that like I've really been trying to incorporate more to make it feel like I'm not just, you know, putting a joint where the joint is, you know. That's not really the vibe. Then you can do like plating around the arms, So he's a very animated character in the game, and I really wanted to follow that through. Also, it helps to break the silhouette. If you're going for something unique in any artwork, breaking the silhouette if you're trying to create something new is very important. So there's places in this where I can just add things that go out, and I end up doing that a lot more with the tail. The internals here, right? So I would consider this not my best internals that I've done on one of these characters. I would say probably the best would be on the Totodile one. Again, you can go and see it over on my Blue Sky. But this is pretty good. It lost a lot of this detail further into the illustration, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to really work on, making sure that it looks like it could possibly work. A lot of the ones I've done do tend to look like they've been well thought out, and like that would link into that cog and that would do that, and this is the power supply kind of stuff. And I'm still learning myself, and I've been doing this for a while, but like I like this stuff, so I don't mind putting in the effort. Little things like hydraulics under the arms, which makes it read as more real. Again, just following where I think the edges could meet up for plating. This is where I started to go out of the silhouette. So the tail was one big lump. You know, it just is one big lump. And breaking the silhouette here is really easy, because if you had plating here, you can go in a little bit, then out a little bit with the wires. And it just helps create some visual interest. And visual interest is what you really want most of the time. Because if you just look at a flat image, a flat picture, if you look at like, I don't even know a good bad character. But like, if you look at a ball, it's a ball. There's nothing interesting about that ball. That circle is just a circle. But if you add, I don't know, a second ball on that ball, it is immediately more interesting. The thought process comes in, like, how does that move? Would that bounce different? Why is there another ball on it? You know, things like that. And that's how you gain the depth within work a lot of the time. And again, I'm not the best at this. I don't do it to the best of my ability for sure, because it takes ages. But again, here, just going around, I think we're on another layer now, where I'm just going around and breaking, like again, plating around here and here, just to break up the silhouette a bit more. So if I took this entire drawing and turned it all into black right now, and I think I do in a second, my aim is to have visual interest everywhere. Ah, right, okay, so I just put in a backing color. Now these colors aren't what I want in the end at all, but there are just to help me visualize. And this is one of the things that a lot of people don't do. They'll just work on black and white, and it's bad for your eyes, for one. It'll hurt your eyes long term, and you'll be like, but helping mock in color really helps with visualizing what is actually what pieces. Also helps you determine materials for later on. So now I know everywhere that I put in gray, it's probably going to be different to the purple. And later on, I do this again, but more refined, because this isn't clean at all. There's gaps, there's little bits that I've missed. But that also helps with masking later on. And I'll explain to that when we get. Do all the same with silver in the middles, mock all this in, reds. And I'm starting to think of how I want the overall image to look. And I don't even think I stick with some of this. Most of it, yeah. But I think I take the saturation down. I think I mess with the saturation quite a few times. So I've just went around and I've put in, I think again with the monoline brush, just neat lines. This isn't final line art at all, but I started with just going around the edge, just so I knew that's where everything ends. And you can definitely see where I went in on the curves. Again, visual interest stuff. The internals, you can see which bits I start to miss out, I think. It's all there, but like, because these bits are going to be black, it doesn't read quite right. A thinner line I think I used with the studio pen, and this is just adding really tertiary details, you know, really small. They're everywhere. I don't know if I can zoom on this actually, can I? Eh, eh. I zoom. I don't think I can. But if you look really closely, I can do it here actually. If we look really closely, this might help with you guys actually. Around these bits here, there's a second line now, and that's what I'm adding in everywhere. They're over here, over the tail. They're little marks here, like scratches and stuff. Adding all that stuff, again, visual interest. It's all about visual interest. It's telling a story through just showing and not telling. And I think that's one thing that really lends itself to illustration in general. People like the clean look for sure, and it is a thing. But if you're creating characters, you want to add this kind of stuff in. Yeah, just going through, adding all this kind of stuff in, little tiny bits, drips, stuff like that. I just took out the underlayers of the sketch because there's not needed anymore. And I put an off-tone grey underneath him so that I can differentiate between the background and the white of the background. I think I changed the white to a different color shortly. It also helps with, you know, when you're coloring in and stuff and you miss a little white dot you didn't color with your paint. You won't see that because behind that is now grey, and you can change that color to whatever you needed it to be and you won't have any gaps. Still tertiary details. Decided to take out the blacks of the eyes, adding more in, grimy bits, maybe blood, who knows. Folds for the fabric. This is where I add in final colors to mock out what bits are going to be what. I think I don't bother doing these bits yet. Oh wait, I did. Yeah, okay. Purple. That purple is way too vibrant though. I added in the title card at the bottom, and this is one of the things that I really try to do. I always have like a name at the bottom. It just matches the style that I kind of like. It's like a poster, an advertisement, you know. I changed the brightness of the color, so I color picked this original purple, like grayish purple, and then I changed the brightness up a little bit on that color. So now these are all the same color family. So when you're looking at the color picker, you should try and keep it quite vertical if you're going to go for something that's all on one thing. When you're picking your color, because color families matter or else things start to look a little bit strange. So right now I'm adding in the lighter spots. I'm adding rim lighting around the bits where I know it'll be most reflective. This is just on the purple, and I'm doing this using a clipping mask. So a clipping mask is a way to, I could paint all over here. I could scribble everywhere, and it will only appear in these purple areas. You won't see it outside of that. It's a very good way to keep your artwork clean. So the purple's on a separate layer, the grey's on a separate layer, and the light purple is on a different layer. And that will help with just clipping masks in general. I think I just did it the same again. I created it an even lighter tone of purple and went around again to add depth between, like this nice, right here, this nice blend between brightest, second brightest, third brightest, and then darkest. And then right now on the leg, you can see I'm adding darkest. I went darker than the original. Pull out with contrast, especially if I'm doing metal. If you look at any type of metal, the contrast's ridiculous. And the shinier you get, the more contrast there is. So I end up going through all with this dark color. Not really that neatly, because I think I had a Gaussian blur over the entire layer to break it up. And then going through again with another darker tone to bring out spots that I really want to be really dark. So yeah, I just went over quite a lot of the work I did there. I think I messed with the opacity a little bit. I messed with layer effects to see what I think looks better. I think I just ended up with a multiply. Right here I'm adding darker still, lines that go through for reflections, erasing some, like doing them, erasing them on a low opacity eraser, and that can help just bring out small details, tiny details. The face at this point was not doing fabulous. I remember thinking to myself. So I started, yeah, you can see me erasing bits, trying to mock in where I want the highest high points to be, where I want the reflections to be, and that's what gets it. If you're going for a metal look, you need to get your reflections on point, and my reflections aren't always on point at all. But you can see it keeps going from dark to light. I'm doing pure white with an the studio ink pen right now, right on the edge. Like, and it, like, you can see the difference if we pause. I think right now, because I was clever about this, it's exactly half the drawing I did in that rim light on the grayish purple. So you can see the difference from here to here, which one stands out more, or this leg to this leg, you know. And the style I go for is like cartoony meets realistic in terms of painting. So I never actually want my stuff to look realistic, but I want them to look interpretive. Like, that's interpretive reality is how I would describe it. I want it to look like, this is weird, this is a bit of both, and I really like that. And I've talked about it before, the Borderlands style kind of does that. They have quite realistic textures, but they're hand painted, so they'll have real reflections in, and they'll have the black line outlines with everything, but the textures themselves look like the things that they're trying to be. So that's the kind of thing I like to go for. Again, just white highlights everywhere, pretty much. I think I went back through, knocked off some of the darkness because I thought it was a bit too much in places. This wasn't a short drawing. I think this was like a 10-hour illustration for me because I wanted to make it into this video to show you guys, to help people learn and things like that. So I think at this point where I know it came out to around 10 minutes. This is hour mark 7 because it's 1 minute per hour in the time lapse. And I've still got the grays to do, the purples to do, the dark grays. Still got loads to do. And then I do a little bit of a background, not a major background, but you know, I only did a little background to show off for you guys how you can possibly do it if you don't want to put in loads of effort. Now here I did a big mistake. These lines go the opposite way of everything else, but it works because the shape's different than everywhere else. It's all just, again, you just saw it there. Everything went a little bit more fuzzier because I added the Gaussian blur. Just blurred the entire layer. I think I turned up the brightness of that layer as well afterwards. And where are we? While we're doing the chest. Again, darkness. It's just the same over and over for each section, really. I'm doing a bit on the legs. Whitest white light, I think. It just makes it shiny, like chromed. This is in no way like perfect to me at all. I think there's a lot more that we could do here in terms of cool stuff, but I'm happy leaving this where it is. Just mainly just them 4 steps. So these 4 steps right here, like darkest tone, you're blocking your color. Lighter tone, you're knocking like where the light's going to hit. Rim lighting on a lighter tone than the original lighter. It's a lot of lights. For the edging on the rim light, and then putting in like visual interest lighting, so contrast if you're doing metal, so it's light dark, darkest, and then final step would be just the highlights, and it's just going around and following the way that the objects move. So this one goes this way on the light, and that one goes out towards the finger because it's stretched out more. And that might not realistically work in real life. That might not be how that light works. But for the case of our character here and stuff, that's what we want. We want it to just have interests more than anything. It also adds direction to the character. Like, he's pointing that way, so have the light go that way so it draws your eye. It's all just about trying to figure out what people are going to take from it. Yeah, I'm going around with white highlights on the darkest areas now. This hand looks nice. I really like this hand. Yeah, knocked in a background on a darker layer, and I always do a cut out a little bit. And I think I changed the proportions here a little bit. But because I like the poster aesthetic, I put around the white border. I also did a white border on him, and I really like the sticker look, and it lends itself to how he appears in the game. And I think, yeah, I added a drop shadow using that same layer and just on a second layer underneath, and moved it to the left, and you can get this nice shadowed look. Indigo Park gets a little bit of a change. Oh, the blood. Yeah, I really like the blood. But I think it was a bit too dark here, and I end up changing it a little bit. I make the darker areas lighter, and it's just more fun. And then I was thinking... Oh, wait, before we get onto the background bit. I was thinking about putting something else here, like a disembodied robot head or something, but at the end of the day, I think he has a good pose. It just looks like he's ready, you know? Right, the background here. Super rough. Like, it's not even a background yet. But I did this on purpose. I just used random texture brushes, add some tones in. I think I kind of painted like a really rough tower in the background with the clock on. And then at that point, right there, I put over the top of it a grey layer in low opacity to knock it back. And then I go and add a Gaussian blur and a glitch layer. Change all of that into glitch effects. And with the Gaussian blur below that as well. It doesn't matter what's in your background. It is just visual interest. It's just so it's not on a blank page. Like there, something like that. It didn't need detail. It needed just random stuff in the background so that it was interesting to look at. And because I added the glitch layer, it works with the robot aesthetic. I also changed the font. Like I did this in Procreate. I just added it to added an outline text, and then put the original text back underneath and turned it black. So if I moved this black layer, it would just be hollow. But I wanted it like that. Yeah, I add some text. I do. Yeah, see, the ending's really fast. But so we go from that to this. So this was the finished background I did, and because this is just for a video, I just took a screenshot from in the game and did the exact same effect, the glitch layer effect. And you can tell there's like more shape in it, you know, there's like a banner here, a light here, a light over here, you know, just poles and random stuff, and that's from in the game itself. And that's where we ended up. And I think it looks pretty cool. You know, I think it looks like a pretty good illustration. If you want to have a close look, go and check me out on Blue Sky. If this was helpful in any way, share with your friends. Do the subscribe, the bell thing. We play games all the time. I'm trying to do more artwork on the channel as well. So I'm going to choose certain things from games that I've played on the channel, and then I'll make something from them. This time it was Rambley and illustration. Next time, who knows? It could be art like this, it could be clay, it could be anything. And I used to do this quite a lot, so we'll try and make some more. So keep an eye out. Yeah, again, go check out my Blue Sky for more art stuff, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.